Welcome again to Joe Stunner Boxing. Chris Eubank, it's been reported, is looking to fight 41-year-old Erislandy Lara, who is the WBA middleweight champion. Now, I have to say I think this is a bad bit of matchmaking on behalf of, I guess it's Boxxer Ben Shalom, who are Eubank's latest promotional outfit. It seems to me that perhaps Eubank and Boxxer are putting too much into the fact that we're talking about a 41-year-old champion who's notoriously inactive. In actual fact, Erislandy Lara has fought twice this year against Michael Zarafa, who he knocked out in 2 rounds. That was back in March. And he also fought Danny Garcia. What the hell Garcia was doing fighting for a middleweight title, I have no idea. But he dominated him, and Garcia was retired after 9 rounds after being floored. But prior to that, he didn't fight at all in 2023. In 2022, he fought Spike O'Sullivan, stopped him in 8 rounds. And he had one fight in 2021, one fight in 2020, one fight. Was it 1 or 2? It might have been a few more. It might have been 2 fights in 2019. But the point I'm making is that since 2019, he's had 6 or 7 fights. 7 fights, I think it is, which is not a lot for 5 years. And for a 41-year-old, okay, you can argue that taking time out, to sort of allow your body to recover, because it takes longer for the body to recover as you get older, that might be a good thing. But at the same time, you need some sort of activity. And okay, in 2024, he did have those 2 fights against modest opposition, beating up an old welterweight or light welterweight in Danny Garcia. Does it really count for anything? I would say not. Michael Zarafa's a good, honest pro, but he weren't ever going to beat Lara. Now, having said all that, Lara, he has that Cuban schooling, so he's never been the most exciting of fighters, but he's very, very good at what he does. He's very difficult to hit. He's very, very crafty, high ring IQ. The last person to beat him was Jarrett Hurd in 2018, and that was a split decision. And Hurd kind of swarmed him. Hurd can't fight in any other way. You can go way back to 2014, 10 years ago, over 10 years ago now, when he fought Canelo and lost a split decision. A lot of people thought he won that fight. So, but in between, there have been long periods of inactivity, beating people like Yuri Foreman and Vanes Martirosyan, and I think Aisha Smith was on the list. I don't know what he's doing up at middleweight either at the time, but you know what I mean. His career has been stop, start, very, very bitty and erratic, and but he's got the schooling. He's got the ability to befuddle you and bewilder you, and he seems to be sitting down his punches more now that he's older, probably because he has to. He hasn't quite got the legs he had, so maybe he has to sit down and put a bit more wallop into his punches, which against very, weak opposition seems to have worked. He is, of course, a southpaw, which might make him even more tricky. But let's have a look at Eubank Jr., because Eubank Jr. himself is no longer the proverbial spring chicken. He's 35 years old. He's never held a world title unless you include the IBO, which no one does, or one of those stupid WBA regular titles, which no one cares about. And I think the feeling is that Eubank, because he is 6 years younger, has got an advantage. I don't really see an advantage at all. Because don't forget, Lara is a very well-preserved 41. And Eubank, lest we forget, only 3 fights ago, was knocked out by Liam Smith in 4 rounds. Now, okay, he won the rematch in 10 rounds. Only had a little run around this year with Kamil Zarameta and stopped him in 7. A bit of a rust shedder. But I know what people are going to say about that first Liam Smith fight. Eubank was trying to boil himself down to 157 for that Conor Ben thing, and that went bosoms northwards. So suddenly he found himself in the ring with Smith, and Smith was the right man in the right place at the right time and all that. I don't quite believe that. I do think it's a point, but I think you're taking too much away from Smith, who, despite going through it in the early rounds of that fight, nevertheless hung tough and found a way to hurt Eubank. And Eubank says, well, you landed an elbow and all this, but no, Eubank was hurt before the elbow landed, right? And he backed into the corner. And also the fact that if let's just play devil's advocate and say that damage, the damage of boiling yourself down too much, did affect him in that fight. Okay, he looked pretty decent against Smith, who apparently hadn't lived the life and had been injured between the two fights. He looked okay there. He looked okay against Zerameta, nothing special. But when you constantly boil yourself down to a weight which is not necessarily a natural weight, that's bad. That's really, and that's going to stay with you. Your body finds it difficult to recover, especially as you get older, and Eubank is 35. Now, let's also remember that for a few years, Eubank was up at super middleweight, and this goes back about, I don't know, what, 8 years ago, maybe for the last 7-8 years. When he was fighting the old Arthur Abraham and the very old James de Gale and Yildirim, and these were 168 fights, and then he went back down to 160. I mean, it seems to me that weight-wise, he may well have taken years off his career. And is his punch resistance back? Was the first Liam Smith fight, an aberration? I don't know. But I do know that Erislandy Lara, who is, because he's older, sitting down on his punches more and being far more offensive than he was earlier on in his career, he will test that chin because he's got the skill to do it. He's got the skill to open up Eubank and land the punches that may well hurt him. And Erislandy Lara, he's 31 wins with 19 KOs. He's not regarded as a one-punch banger, but then he never tried to be. And also, he himself, in his 3 defeats, has never been stopped. He's also got 3 draws, and those defeats, a couple of them have been close, very close. Split decision to Canelo, you know what I mean? Eubank Jr., similar record actually, 34 wins with 25 KOs, 3 defeats, no draws on Chris's record. But who are the ones that have given Chris trouble? Movers, boxers, people with good feet, good legs. Okay, Lara is 41. His legs are slowing. I get it. But at the same time, he's not sort of leaden-legged. He's not a cripple. This isn't going to be, the 58-year-old Mike Tyson tottering around the ring, almost tripping up as he's walking to the ring. This is still a man who's got something left, and also a guy who's, even when he stands in the pocket, is very, very slick and very able to sort of nullify any kind of aggression. Chris likes to be aggressive. He loves the uppercut. We all know that. He fires uppercuts like they're going out of fashion. And if Chris is tight at the weight at 160, rest assured Lara will know that and will probably go at the body as well. I mean, even if you look at the Garcia fight, and I know Garcia is a 140-pounder, really, maybe a welterweight at the most. What he was doing in the middleweight, I don't know. He was 36 at the time as well. It was a ridiculous matchup. But just looking at Lara's work, the way he went about it, and trying to envisage him doing the same thing with Eubank, there is some, a great deal of intelligent. You can see the intelligence, you can see the ring IQ, you can see him looking at what's coming at him or what's in front of him, and then trying to work his way, navigate his way through to maximising his ability, landing the right punches, body, head, both hands, stay in the pocket when you need to, back foot when you need to. This guy is a very, very clever fighter. So I think this is the wrong matchup for Chris Eubank Jr., regardless of age. And I don't think, even because Chris is 35 and Lara is 41, I don't think there's a great deal of difference chronologically. Is Chris fresher than Lara? No, probably a little bit. But again, I get back to the weight. I get back to the stoppage by Liam Smith, who is really just a 154-pounder anyway. and also the fact that all three of Chris's defeats, so not all three actually, two of Chris's defeats, George Groves and Billy Joe Saunders are the other two. Those were very, very good boxers. George Groves, excellent jab. Saunders, when he's on it, can move very well, very crafty, very slick. Was able to win the first half of the fight, didn't come in at his optimum peak condition. Lost the second half of the fight, but won a decision. That was very early on in both their careers. George Groves, bigger man than Chris. Cut him, didn't he? Cut him as well. But movers, these movers and these slicksters, they give Chris trouble because Chris likes to plant his feet and throw those big hooks and uppercuts. And also Chris has periods where he's quite inactive in rounds. He might go 10, 20 seconds where he doesn't really do anything. Against Lara, can you afford to do that? I have my doubts. So I think this is a poor matchup. But let me know. Perhaps you agree, perhaps you don't agree. Let me know what you think. Comments below as always. And please, if you are new to this channel, you could subscribe. That would be a great thing for us because we're trying to build the channel up. Thank you. And also hit the like button if you enjoyed the video because they count them. I still can't work out why, but they do apparently. All right. Thanks, ladies and gentlemen. I'll catch you later and bye for now.